Chad, thanks for joining us. Always great to see you.
No, thanks for having me on, Sean.
All right, look, I got to ask somebody of your expertise, caliber. Give me your take on this operation that happened Saturday night in terms of planning, coordination, effectiveness.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the planning of this operation, you take away all the other factors. This is probably, in my 30 years in and around the military, the most spectacular military feat that I've seen. And I was just the co-author of my new book, Silent Horizons. His name's Jack Stewart. He is a former Top Gun pilot, Top Gun instructor. And we were talking yesterday about like, what it would take from the aviation side to pull this off. And this is something that I think not only did they just prove the power and might of the United States military and in leadership of Pete Hegseth and just the ability of our troops, but something that they had planned this for probably 15 years. They had I mean, when you're in the military, like they have these things, these operations you do every year, and you train for it and do like, Steel Fox, or the Marines do CACs every year. And so you're planning for a specific type operation. Those stealth fighters planned for this exact run over and over and over. So they didn't have to train for it. They just like, okay, it's go time. Let's pull the trigger. And, seven stealth bombers went one way as a decoy. 7 went towards the target, 125 aircrafts. They 37 hours, longest flight in history, or either the longest or second longest flight in history. They never broke communications, and they flew in, put 14 MOBs, which are like 30,000 pounds. They could drill down 300 feet through reinforced concrete before they exploded. And not one bullet from Iran, not one aircraft launch. They never knew we were there until we were gone. It was amazing to be able to see that.
I said this yesterday, Chad, and I'm glad you reaffirmed this based on your experience, that I think this will go down as one of the most effective military operations in modern history because of the jointness of it, the effectiveness of it, the stealthness of it. It shows the planning that goes into an operation like this, and also the leadership.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of coordination and very clear and decisive leadership. Because look, this could have exploded into something much worse than we're seeing now because of the way it was done. And I think when you look at Putin, him not acting, President Xi not acting, it's because of the precision we did this in. We didn't wound a civilian. We didn't attack a military base or attack Iranian troops. We didn't attack a government facility. We specifically took out what we believed was a clear and present threat to the United States and our interest. And the precision of it was so important to this.
Yeah, it makes me think back to like some of the first exercises I did in the late 1990s, where you are rehearsing an action, knowing that it may never come, but the idea is the muscle memory, so that when it happens, to your point, you think about these B-2 guys and the pilots who go on these missions and just do a route over and over again, knowing that it may be 1 year, it may be 5 years before they ever actually have to run it. But then it becomes muscle memory as opposed to trying to do it for the first time.
Yeah, the military does this. It's, we call it operant conditioning or muscle memory. You do the same thing over and over and over again. That way, when the moment comes and it happens, for an assaulter going through a door, the door gets breached and you got, a bunch of tier 1 assaulters that did it a million times going in and they're not even thinking about what they're doing. They're just doing exactly what they trained 1,000 times to do. And these pilots flew this mission many times before. They flew this exact mission for that exact target photo over and over and over again. And it was just, that's why they executed at such precision. And it put the world on notice of how great the United States military is. And I love that because, I was, Pete Hegseth and I talked about this, him as Secretary of Defense, like the importance of restoring the morale in our troops, the recruiting and retention in our troops, the confidence in the United States, just the United States of America, that our military is the greatest and strongest, not in the world, but in history. And this showed the world and put the world on notice that we are, in fact, are still. And that makes the world a safer place. It makes the world a safer place to know what the U.S. is capable of, because that is the emphasis to me of peace through strength.
It's interesting. I was about to ask you this, what does it say about our military? And you answered the former part of what I was thinking about, meaning what does it say to the rest of the world? And I want to go down this rabbit hole with you in just a second, because I want to think about if I'm China and I'm thinking about Taiwan, if I'm Russia and I'm thinking about helping Iran, like maybe that's going to give you a ton of pause. But you brought up an aspect of it that I didn't think of, Chad, which is the internal domestic consumption of this. Like if I'm at home and I'm a 17-year-old young man or woman that says, I'm thinking about joining the military, I just went, wow, that's pretty badass, right? It's not just a movie like Top Gun coming out. It's like, hey, I just watched this coordinated effort between, that was really joint. You got the Air Force dropping bombs, the Navy firing Tomahawks. I now want to go be part of this.
No, it's a huge factor, and it was a very important part of the election for me. I mean, I watched because of what my role at Mighty Oaks and being involved in the military so long. I've spoken over the last decade. I've spoken over 500,000 troops, and I've watched the degradation of our morale, recruitment, retention. At the end of the last administration, President Biden had pushed the military to a point. I'd say Secretary Austin, but he was pretty absent as a SecDef. But we had pretty much pushed our military to the lowest recruiting since Vietnam. In a short period of time, only 6 months of Pete Hegseth being in office and making those changes in the military, we saw I think a 20-year record high in recruiting. So America's sons and daughters felt a confidence in a new leadership as President Trump as commander-in-chief and Secretary Hegseth. They felt a new confidence in the leadership to say, hey, I want to serve because I believe in the direction our military will go. If we do fight, we're going to be the most prepared, the most lethal, and we're going to go have a clear mission and go win and come home. We won't put our boots on the ground for no reason. And I believe that the American people believe that, and the parents of throughout America had the confidence to encourage their sons and daughters to do. I mean, I'm around a lot of legacy military families. My family's been serving for 90 years now. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. I did Afghanistan. My son did Afghanistan. I have a son still in. We in the special operations community, we have a lot of sons that join. And I know a lot of guys, especially in the SEAL community, that had these multi-generation legacy SEALs that did not let their sons join this last administration. And yesterday, to your point, I got a call from my youngest son, Hayden. He was active duty. He got kicked out for the refusal of the vaccine. He went back into the reserves. So he's in the reserves now. And he just has not been very impressed or motivated. I mean, I'm putting him out on blast here. But I was so happy that he called yesterday. He's like, man, this actually makes me want to re-enlist.
Really?
And I'm like, why does it make you want to re-enlist? He's like, it's just so motivating to see what our military is capable of. And I was really shocked by his response to that. But it's to your point, like.
But were you? I mean, I guess the thing that's interesting to me is that for the 4 years of Biden, look, I got into the military when Bill Clinton was president. I didn't get in because of the commander in chief. I got in because of a desire to serve the country, not a particular president. And I've noticed I mean, Pete Hegseth talks about this warfighter ethos and the lethality of the force. I just think that people who join the military do so because of a greater sense of purpose and focus. And that was missing for 4 years. And when Trump and Hegseth started openly talking about it, I feel like a lot of people said, okay, we're back. And I want to get into this. I want to stay involved in this, whatever. But I'm not shocked by it. I actually think people were like, okay, now I'm back. Like, I get it. I've got some motivation.
Well, I'm not shocked by it either. I was shocked by it because of my son specifically, because I'm his dad. So I know him differently. But I'm certainly not shocked by the response of our recruitment numbers and the morale of the military. I'm not shocked at all. This is exactly what our military needed. And look, this isn't a recruiting issue. This is a national security issue. If you can't have the morale, recruitment, retention in our military, that is a national security issue,
right?
Especially in a major war, because it doesn't just speak to the numbers; it speaks to capability. Because motivation and buy-in is so important to the ability to be able to pull off what happened this weekend. I mean, those aviators and pilots and all the crew that was involved in that operation last year, those are people that are bought in and they believe in the mission.
So I want to though go to the second point that you and I both were talking about, which is if I'm China right now, and I'm thinking about Taiwan, or I'm anybody thinking about saber rattling, I watched President Trump try to negotiate. Basically, I think Iran giving him the middle finger and saying, you know what, I don't know, maybe not. And then him saying, fine, I'll show you. I'm willing to act decisively. And I think that we just talked about the domestic piece of this. The international piece, I think after Syria in his first term and this in his second, has sent a clear and bold message to the rest of the world that the president will not hesitate when it comes to acting on behalf of America's national security interests.
100%. Look, I could spend an hour talking about the answer to what you just asked, because there's so many facets of it. I think at the core, to know that you have a commander in chief, the leader of the free world, who's willing to act, and when he says something, he means it. And we haven't seen that in our country. We had Biden and Kamala saying, what is your response to Iran? Don't.
Right.
Don't. Yeah.
And here's a pallet of cash in Obama's case.
Yeah, exactly. And and President Trump saying we're gonna bomb the crap out of you. And look, they have to weigh the decisions they make on a with the factor that with our capability, and we just demonstrated it. But this isn't nothing new. President Trump's first 4 years, a lot of people don't know because it didn't make the headlines, but he pretty much eradicated Al Qaeda off the planet with strategic strikes in a period of 6 months.
Right.
So the news didn't give him credit for that, but that's what happened. And in Afghanistan, I believe President Trump missed a huge opportunity, because I believe we beat the Taliban between 2016 and 2018, and the Taliban essentially was not in conventional war with the United States anymore. We were participating in a support and advisory role. President Trump had pushed the troops down in Afghanistan down to about 1,500 at the lowest point, because we were in a support and advisory role. He could have declared a victory there, and he probably should have. And I think that was a kind of PR mistake that the administration made. But he had a lot of victory in his first administration through strategic strikes. And the world took notice. That's why Putin waited till he was out of office to move into Ukraine, and because he knew he could do it with President Biden. So I think if I'm President Xi or President Putin and I'm wanting to do things, I'm like, hey, okay, we're going to sit on this for a while, and we're gonna try to influence in another election. We're going to attack them, through cyber means and different types of things like that by proxy, but we're not going to do make any big direct moves while President Trump's in office. Yeah. So I think the threat kind of shifted to, their kind of electronic influence campaigns and stuff like that.
I agree with you, though, but I think if you get, as I do, I believe you get J.D. Vance following on. You're trying to buy 3 more years of Trump, and then you're probably buying 4 more years of Vance, and then Putin's dead.
Hopefully 8 more years of Vance, and that's why the American people, it's important that we recognize what we're talking about here, because it matters at the ballot box.
Yeah. Well, look, there's no question about that. I talked to Seb Gorka about this. It's the leadership matters. They either fear you, don't, and there was a huge contrast between you have Obama sending a pallet of cash, Biden basically being like, we're going to get a deal with you guys. And we want to, Iran felt like they could toy with us. With Trump, the message is clear. Like, I'll screw with you. I'll take you out.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure right now the reason that their supreme leader is starting to cave is because I would imagine President Trump has sent him a message, probably let him know exactly where he's at. And hey, we know where you are.
We know where you are, and I can kill you.
Yeah, exactly. So,
all right. Well, speaking of that, though, what is from a follow-on standpoint, what does it look like in terms of further intelligence, battle damage assessment? How are we, and when are we going to have a better sense of what we destroyed and what Iran's capabilities still are?
Yeah, the truth is, I don't know the exact answer to that. Look, I don't think we're going to put people in the ground to do the BDA. I think we have great technology of satellite imagery, but ultimately it's going to be boots on the ground, humans on the ground. So it's going to be a reliance on Israeli intelligence, which, I stand with Israel. I don't trust the Israeli government. That's kind of my position in that. Especially, they have their own interests. They're a country that has their own interests in their protection of their own country. So but I do believe that the BDA, the battle damage assessment, will probably come from the Israelis, and that's the information we'll be fed. I don't think we're going to have boots on the ground there to go do that.
So let's just take this one step at a time real quick. Do you think that this holds? I mean, I feel like Israel, the president was pissed this morning, and Israel got the message like, hey, don't screw this up, right?
Yeah.
So I get the sense that he has sent that warning shot verbally to say, guys, I got a ceasefire, cut it out.
Yeah, I mean, I have buddies that are there right now. Kind of little plug to Dennis Price and Heroes for Humanity. They're out there evacuating people, and I texted him, "Hey, the ceasefire deal." He's like, FaceTiming me, like, "Hey, here comes the rockets." And this is we got 2 hours left before this thing's supposed to go. Why are they still firing rockets back and forth with the ceasefire? And that's direct from the ground. So they were still firing rockets after President Trump announced the ceasefire deal. And I think Israel needs to stop, and Iran too. I mean, to me, as soon as this thing's announced, full stop. But hopefully they will. Hopefully they honor that, and it's in the best interest, by the way, of Israel to honor that. And I just hope they do.
All right. So, Chad, you mentioned real quick the sort of potential future strikes. Should we be worried about sleeper cells in the United States?
Yes, and I don't say that to scare the heck out of people, but it's just wisdom. Look, we had 4 years of open borders. I have no doubt, and anybody in the intelligence community or from my background or you, we have bad actors in the United States. We have people that have come from China, Iran, all those parts of the world, and they flooded the United States, and they have ill intent to do harm. I think for me, I'm telling my family, hey, don't go to any large gatherings that you don't need to go to in the next month. Let's see what intelligence. Let's see what Kash Patel and the FBI give them some time to watch for movement, look for chatter, and let's see what's going to happen. And then also be prepared, because I think more than a mall shooting or a swarming attack, what I predict would be a attack on our critical infrastructure. I'm on the board of the Center for Security Policy with Tommy Waller, and we have really looked at this for years. And our grid is so vulnerable, and we have so many vulnerabilities to our critical infrastructure in the United States. And Americans, our way of life really relies on our ability to have power. And so if the critical infrastructure gets hit, it would take us a very long time to get something like our grid stood back up, and most Americans are not prepared. So be prepared. Have ability. If you're a man, you should be able to protect your family physically with personal security in your home. So have guns, ammo. Not being a weirdo prepper, but you got to have those things, and you have the ability to. How can I get my family if the power grid goes down? How can I make sure my family's not going to die of dysentery? Where can I get potable water? How can I feed my family? Harvest food, feed my family. Do I have I'm partnered with a company called Uncharted Supply Company. We have these 72-hour bags that if something happens in 72 hours, everybody that would fit in that vehicle could survive. And so I have one of those in every one of my vehicles in my home, and I have larger supplies. So I'm a prepared person. I'm not a paranoid person. I believe I'm wise from my experience. And the reality is our grid is very vulnerable, and we have bad actors in this country that are willing to do us harm. And right now is a time that they may act on that as a proxy to what's happening in Iran. Okay.
So the message is that you want to get across is whether it's cyber or electric, be prepared, be ready.
Be prepared, be ready. Yeah, you got to. And I know so many people are like, oh, that's paranoia. It's not. It's just wisdom.
Okay. All right, Chad Robichaux, I appreciate all you do, your service to this country, the insight that you could share with us right now. Thanks for all that. I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.